Hello, unstoppable real estate investors. I am so excited to introduce today our guest, Sanjay Patel, because Sanjay, and I think I spelled your name wrong in the promotion. I'll go back there and correct. I put an N in Pantel instead of Patel. So Sanjay was able to retire from his W-2 job as a result of being a multifamily investor. He's invested as a general partner and some syndications, but he's really focused mostly on multifamily as a way of actually retiring from the rat race of trading time for dollars. And that's what this whole thing's all about is, and what I do as a business coach is, how do we scale your operation and grow it and then automate it so that it's passive income for you? You're not in the day-to-day operations. You're not having to trade time for dollars. So welcome to the Unstoppable Real Estate Investor podcast, Sanjay. It's nice to have you.
Well, thank you, Rihanna. It's great to be on. Thank you for inviting me. I've been looking forward to it, to talking about my journey, as well as hopefully it helps some others to decide to start investing.
Yeah, I think people are very
well.
inspired by listening to real other people and their journey and what they've gone through. I think it makes a huge difference for people. So let's start with what were you doing before real estate? What was the W-2 job that you were able to retire from? Tell us a little bit about who Sanjay was prior to real estate investing, and then let's talk about that journey into becoming a real estate investor. So what were you doing before you became a real estate investor?
So for 26, 27 years, I was a software engineer. I developed software. I actually had a pretty successful career. I was able to earn a couple of patents as well with my company. We started off on a small startup that competed with a larger company. They took us over, and then essentially I worked there at that particular place for about 18 years, in various different roles. I would anything from software engineer to tech lead to software engineering manager, product manager, and different things. So I was pretty well ensconced in sort of corporate life, right? But at that point, I started feeling a bit trapped. My wife had stopped. She used to be a CPA, and she left her job when we had our two sons. And once they got to high school, she started looking for something else, and in an effort. So she's the one that actually got me into real estate. So when she started looking, she tried a franchise and a few other investment avenues that didn't work out. And then she found a 3-day with Fortune Builders, actually.
Okay, you were a Fortune Builder student.
Yes, and well, she sort of drugged me into it, I'll say.
Kicking and screaming.
A little bit. So, but she went to the 3-day, and after 2 days, she came home. She's like, "You have to come for the 3rd day." I'm like, "All right, I guess I can take a day off, and let's see what this is all about." Because she was really excited. She hadn't told me about the investment that we had to make into Fortune Builders yet.
Yeah,
I found that out. Yeah, I found that out on the 3rd day. But that was tempered by, and if you've ever been to a Fortune Builders 3-day event, on the 3rd day is when they start talking about passive investment and commercial real estate and things like that, and that sort of perked my ears. And I started, and that gave me a different insight and a different that got me interested. So we took the plunge, signed up with Fortune Builders. She started doing fix and flips, and I was still working. This was in 2017. So about 5-6 years. So she was doing fix and flips, and then we started looking at acquiring single family rentals and things like that, because we did want to build our passive income. And we acquired our first one, and I through the effort and rehabbing the house and everything, I sat down with my wife and we looked at each other and we're like, okay, one house is great and it's one door, but if we really want to make this work and we want to actually replace the W2, we need this to scale, and we want it to scale quickly. So that's when I started looking more at commercial real estate, and I started looking at passively investing, essentially into syndications and LP positions and things. So that's.
Can I jump in there? So talk
Sure.
about when you do, so you've talk about what you've invested in commercially and multifamily, and then I want you to distinguish for people limited partner versus general partner for syndications. But first talk about, so your wife was really dragged you along for the ride, and she did some fix and flips. You weren't really involved in the business at that point. And then she came to you after doing a few of those and said, look, I want to invest in rentals. And then that perked up your interest and you started to get involved.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I will say this, all the good decisions we've made in my have started with her dragging me along. So I will, she.
Happy wife, happy life. You're a smart guy.
Marrying her was the best decision I ever made.
That's very
I stand
smart.
by that.
Is she watching right now?
She knows I'm on, so hopefully she will at least watch the replay if she's not watching right now.
Okay, so did you guys start with investing in single family residences, or did you dive right into commercial and multifamily?
We have some single family rentals that we still have. We haven't gotten rid of those. They're cash flowing pretty well, and we actually have a property manager that takes care of them. So it is pretty passive for us. She's interested.
How long was it for you? Did it take for you guys to go onesie, twosies, single family to let's do commercial, and commercial meaning multifamily, or are you doing any other commercial investments?
So after the first couple, we decided, because essentially I looked at her and she was the one that did most of the work on it. But I'm like, you're putting in all this time and we're getting one door, right? And we're and the tenant leaves, that's it. No cash flow until we find a new one. So with that, I was like, and at that point I had started educating myself a little bit more on commercial real estate, and so
you started to creep into the game with your wife.
Oh yes, that the passive income and the idea that eventually I would be able to leave my W2 was
becoming more and more appealing.
Yes, it was. And so we started looking at commercial. I started researching multifamily as well as retail space. So we our passive investments as a limited partner, and a limited partner essentially is someone that invests their money into a syndication, and they essentially there's the pros
and that's
to
it.
that.
That's pretty much all you do. You give them your money and then you get your dividends, and but as a general partner, you're managing the fund, right?
Exactly. As a general partner, you're the one that's actively doing the asset management, working with the banks for loans, and essentially anything you would think about as what a real estate investor would have to do. Passive investing is obviously a lot easier. It also, because it's you're a limited partner, your liability is limited. Your liability is up to the amount that you invested. General partner obviously has liability greater than that because they can possibly, they're signing on the loan, they can possibly lose more than what they put into the deal.
Okay. And so the main reason for going multifamily commercial was to scale and get more doors in one fell swoop.
Exactly. Because with multifamily, depending on the size of property you're looking at, you can get 60, 70, 100 doors at a time. And with relatively similar effort that you would put into closing on a single, you're still talking to the bank for loans, you're still doing due diligence, you're still doing all that stuff that you would normally, but now you're scaling that up to a lot more doors, and what attracted me to passively investing is I was able to find a number of big operators that have been doing it for a long time, and I was able to look at how they set up their deals, how they interacted with their investors, what they looked for, how they evaluated properties, and what their strategies were for the life cycle of a project and things like that. So so I was using it as much to build up passive income, but also as sort of an educational process, because eventually I knew that once I built up enough passive income and left the W-2, I don't like sitting at home and just not doing anything. So I wanted to be able to do something. So my thought was, all right, once I do that, the great thing would be to offer the opportunity for others to passively invest and help them become financially free as well. So that's.
So did you develop your own syndication?
So over time, what I did was I partnered with others. My first one actually happened because, again, my wife, our first general partner. I could not make it to a conference because I had work commitments still, and she actually went instead. And she made a relationship with a couple of investors, and a couple of weeks later they sent her the OM and asked her to help underwrite a deal. So she helped them underwrite it, and then we both went up and helped them with the due diligence and everything, and that is how we got into our first deal as a general partner.
And how many syndications do you manage?
Yeah, we're in 2 syndications right now, total of 3 properties, 130, 140 doors.
And you have some of your own individual rentals that you're not in partnership with, right?
Correct. We have rentals like that, and then my wife also loves doing vacation rentals, short-term rentals. So we have one of those out in Branson, Missouri as well.
So tell us what your whole portfolio is and when it retired you.
Okay, so it was a half forced retirement, but a welcome forced retirement, I'll say. Like I said, I worked as a software developer, and essentially I was with them for 18 years. They were thinking about selling off our division, me being the oldest engineer, the highest priced engineer. It was one of those, we need to make ourselves look better for the acquisition. So
bye-bye, Sanjay.
Yeah. Well, they came to me, and it was the easiest exit interview I think they ever had, because at that point I was already thinking about, all right, how long am I actually going to stay here anyway? And and it became a very easy process because they essentially were going to give me a severance package and pay me to leave. And I was like, well, in about 5-6 months, I would have left anyway.
Might as well take this good deal.
I'm taking
Yeah.
this and I'm going. Thank you. So that was so
How long
and
ago was that?
that happened in 2019. So from the
Well, so
time
your wife had only been investing for 2 years.
exactly,
You were kind of following in her footsteps, coming along
yeah,
for the ride,
uh,
and she retired you in 2 years.
exactly. In 2 years, uh, uh, we had over 800 doors in passive investments, as well as I think about 1.3 million square feet of retail space, in the deals that we had passively invested in.
In 2 years.
Yes.
So talk about the portfolio now.
So and I spread it across. We did some with Equity Street, which is Fortune Builders, Stan and Paul's. So we invested in some of their opportunities, but then I also looked around, invested with Joe Fairless and Ashcroft, because I want, again, I'm a big name. I wanted to be able to see how he does stuff as well. And then I found a few other a few smaller ones as well, that people that I had networked with and met in Fortune Builders that moved on to commercial. So, I probably had about eight or nine different LP positions at that point, and we generate and some of them were buy and hold, some of them were, we know that it's only going to be 3 to 5 years, and then it's going and they're turning the deal over. So I tried to split it up so that there's enough of both of them. And I didn't originally expect to get into retail space, but the way that they set up the deals, I thought it was great, because essentially their idea was to buy and hold and keep the property, and the way they return capital was selling out parcels that were on so they bought large outdoor shopping malls, and then the out parcels that have like the little Chick-fil-A or the Starbucks buildings, they would sell those. That's how they would return capital and refinance, but they'd still keep the large mall, and you would still keep getting
So the little
distributions
kiosk businesses out in the parking lot and
Yeah.
stuff, they would just sell off that and keep the main mall.
Exactly. And
Okay.
so I'm still in, and once they return your capital, that's an infinite return, right? Because you have your capital back. I can put that in another deal, and I'm still getting distributions from the first deal. So we've had
So
2
here
or
it
3
is.
of our properties essentially do that, and I've been able to get into a couple more after that full life cycle.
So has your income been replaced?
It wasn't totally replaced, but it was enough that I felt comfortable with where we were, and I knew that now once I started building with the on the active side as well, with the general partner side, we would be able to get it fully, not only fully replaced, but well past that. I will say this, in working for 26, 27 years, my net worth has probably gone up greater in the past 4 years than it did the entire 26 years I was working.
That's awesome. I love that. So listen to that, folks. 26 years as a software engineer. That's not chump change. He was being paid well, and he retires, and 4 years later, he's worth more than he was that whole 26 years. That's amazing. So talk about, like, what's been the biggest challenge for you? Like the biggest hurdle or the scariest thing or the biggest failure? Like, what's been the biggest hurdles and struggles for you?
I'll be honest, my biggest hurdles have been internal, my own limiting beliefs.
Mindset. Yeah.
It's my mindset. I and one of the great things is when about the same time that we started our journey with commercial real estate in 2019, I started doing a lot more with my own mindset. And so I went to my first Tony Robbins event actually in 2019.
Good
And
for you.
and it was a UPW down in Miami. It was the last one they were able to do live before the shutdowns and everything. So I was happy to be able to go down there. But so after that, since then, I've actually 60 pounds lighter than I was before.
Bring it on.
I've done 3 or 4 endurance challenges. Last week, I did the Army 10 miler as well as a Tough Mudder. On the 8th, I did the Army 10 miler, and this past Saturday, me and a few friends went and ran a 10K Tough Mudder. These are things that back 5-6 years ago, I'd be like, it'd be great if I could do that.
Why would I do that?
It's like, why not just sit here instead of go playing in the mud? But the biggest things there is my whole life everybody's always told me I've been an introvert. I'm usually the guy that sits and quiet when there's a big but when I've been going to the conferences recently, and over the past year and a half, as I've gotten more on the active side, and I've started going out there and putting myself out there, networking with people. And my wife now calls me, she calls me a closet extrovert, because I actually enjoy talking with the investors. I enjoy the one-on-one conversations I have, learning about them, hearing what they have to say, and reasons why they want to invest. But and I enjoy being able to teach them and be able to say, okay, so this is what we've done. This is how we've done it. Hey, did you know you can self-direct your IRA? You can create a solo K to be able to passively invest as well. Just different things like that. And over the past month and a half, some of my partners and I, we've put on about 5 different webinars. We actually have one tonight as well at 8:30. Be hosting a case study on another developer that I know how they turned around a property that was essentially underwater.
So when we're done, put a link to that event in the comments, and feel free in my group to promote any events or things that are adding value to people, workshops, webinars, things like that. Feel free to promote them in my group.
Definitely, I'll make sure I'll make sure that the registration link goes right after we finish. And I think we're actually going to have another webinar on Monday. I'll put that one down there as well.
So let me ask you this: is your wife still doing fix and flips, and are you guys still acquiring? Are you doing any BRRRRs? Are you acquiring any single family, or is it simply syndication, multifamily deals and commercial?
So it's real estate wise, it's multifamily. But my wife actually has moved on. She's found another thing that she's interested in.
Which she'll drag you into eventually.
If you know the concepts of infinite banking and how to use how essentially using your money multiple times, well, her and some of her friends have sort of gotten it in where they're taking that to a community level. And so at a community and corporate level where they actually, you can invest with them, and everybody sort of works together to acquire properties, and essentially in the community you can acquire, like, let's say a mall. You have different kiosks and stuff, and everything within the community is sort of starts feeding itself and makes the whole community
So how is
bigger.
that different than a syndication deal or a hard money lender or a hedge fund kind of group?
Okay, so what it'd probably be a bit more similar to the hedge fund,
Yeah,
except that the folks that are running the property still have a piece. They're not only are they invested in it, but they also have the incentive of some of the profits as well and everything. But then the whole group also works together. So even if this one piece isn't doing that well, the others lift it up as well and keep it going.
so is
And
everybody who's involved bringing
it's
the
all
money and being equity partners in the deal? So it's all under one roof, all the funding. And
exactly.
so it is a syndication,
It's
but
similar
it's
to a
also
syndication.
self-funded by everybody in the syndication as
It
well. And they have more say-so than a limited
yes,
partner.
exactly. The you summed it up pretty well there. They all work together. Some can be passive investors if they want to, but if you have pet projects and things that you want to bring and want everybody to help out with, that's something you can bring to the community and work with them as well. So it's sort of a meld of being a limited partner and a general partner, but not just on one project, it's on multiple projects.
So this consortium,
Mhm.
they're not just together for one project, they are a group of investors then is who's also, and they're self-funding. Are they leveraging like whole life policies to be their
Uh,
banks?
They can, yeah,
Yeah,
they leverage some whole life policies. And I didn't know this, but you can actually leverage the death benefits of whole life policies.
yeah,
If you pool a bunch together, you can, the bank will actually lend on that as well. So
there's certain life insurance policies, and there's a lot of back and forth critiques about which ones are better, like Dave Ramsey, who is the guy who's going to help middle,
mhm.
the middle class get
Um,
out of debt. But he's not a big fan of universal whole life policies, but there's these great strategies of being your own bank.
yes,
So
and
in
that
this group that you're talking about, that your wife's working on, that's what they're doing, is using strategies to be their own bank, right?
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what
Yeah.
it is. We around that time is when we started doing infinite banking for our own finances, and that actually probably helped as much as the commercial real estate in terms of getting things the way we want, going in the direction we want them to. And I'm a big proponent of both a whole life and IUL policies. I believe I think they are so much better an investment vehicle than 401ks and some of the different things, especially 529 plans. Anybody that's invested in a 529, I'm going to tell them to just take it out and put it into either a whole life or IOL that's
When you say
configured
IOL,
properly.
what do you mean? And
Index universal life.
yeah,
There's two
yeah,
types
that's what,
of,
yeah, I
yeah,
have two of those policies,
yeah,
and I have used it to bank. I
yeah,
have self-funded to buy a piece
yeah.
of land with one of my
And
policies. Yeah.
we do the same.
Yeah.
We over the past 3 years, we've bought policies on both my wife, me, as well as our two sons. Our older son just graduated college. He's getting ready to start working, and essentially he's going to buy his first policy on his own. We've already started that, and my recommendation to him was anything you would have put in the 401k, say you put that into the policy, and it appreciates tax free. because it is, as long as you can adhere to certain rules.
Yeah, because what you're doing is when you pull money out, you're basically pulling equity out of the death benefit. So
Right.
it isn't considered a
Yeah.
retirement account.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you
And
can use it as a retirement account. You pay the premiums up to 69 and a half, and then after that you can
that's
borrow against the death benefit and not pay taxes on that
exactly,
dividend that you're
because it's
collecting.
borrowed money. It's not
Right.
it's not income.
Right.
So and at that point, you can use, I've heard the term buy, borrow, die. That strategy where either with that you can either do that with an asset that's appreciating, or you do that with your life insurance policies. Is you do it correctly, your life insurance can turn into a great stream of secondary income.
So is there anything else like in your journey, and like when you were thinking about coming on to this show today, what were you most excited about sharing with people? What were like about your journey?
The biggest thing, and we talked about it a little bit just now, is the financial education, just learning. I think we as a country do a very poor job of educating
Financial
folks.
education,
Yes,
especially.
financial
Yeah.
education. The sum total of the education is, okay, make money, put into a retirement account, and hopefully by the time you retire, you have enough to live on. Right. And it just, but there's so many strategies like infinite banking and being able to use the policies and things and like you said, being your own bank. Being your own bank is awesome. Well, who makes money on every transaction? The bank does. If you keep your money moving and you are your own bank, you'll make money as you're lending money, as you're borrowing money, and so.
Are you doing that? Are you lending to people, transactional lending or private money lending, or are you guys just investing in your own syndications and deals?
We have done some lending in the past, especially with folks that we knew from fortune builders. We're not doing as much right now because right now a lot of our capital is deployed in different investments. But anytime we have a little bit, we are more than open to doing some short-term lending as well.
Okay. So if you were to jump on a rooftop and you had like a message you could get across and people were hanging on your every word, what would that be? What would your advice be?
You can do anything. Don't let your own limiting beliefs limit what you think you can do. You're setting a limit on yourself. And the other thing is, know why you're doing something. Have the big why, because that understanding why you are doing something, and it's not just, well, I want to make more money. There's deeper things, right? Some of my whys are, I'm big into Boy Scouts. My sons were Eagle Scouts, and one of the reasons why I like having passive investments and doing this is now I have more time to put in and volunteer and do things where I get more enjoyment out of. It's a lot better quality of life than sitting in front of a computer and typing out code all day. So think about what makes you go, and use that to propel you and get you going. I know Tony Robbins. Ever since I went to the first UPW, I've been to so many of his events after that. One of his biggest things is always know your why. Why are you doing something? Know the deeper level, because what that does is that will get you to actually do what you want to, what you need to, as opposed
Yeah, it's the
to,
fuel. It's the
yeah,
fuel. It's the motivation. The why is when you don't feel like it, you plug into that why and you're going to do whatever it takes, whether you feel like it or
exactly.
not. It's the fuel that keeps you on track, plugging away until you reach your goal.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the,
So it sounds like you're following your wife on to the next adventure as well.
oh, I will. But right now I'm sticking with the commercial, and this
And
year has
she's
been,
focused on the
yeah,
funding group. Yeah.
she's the one that finds the new pastures that we need to go into, and I'm the one that sews up and that,
Keeps what you've already
yeah,
created going. Yeah,
yeah, exactly,
she's the visionary and you're the integrator. Have you
exactly.
read any of Gino Wickman's books?
I have not read any of his
Yeah,
books.
there's a couple of good ones. Traction and then
Okay,
Rocket Fuel. In Rocket Fuel, he goes into detail about every business needs a partnership, a visionary and an integrator. The visionary is the creative person like your wife who's like, okay, what's next and where are we going and what are we going to create? And then the integrator is making sure that the visionary doesn't drive the train off the tracks over the cliff. The integrator is just making sure, all right, let's dot the I's, cross the T's, and take action on some of these great ideas.
yeah,
So you need both. It sounds like you and your wife are a nice balance.
yeah, like I said, she has not led me astray in the 30 years we've been together. So
That's good credibility right there.
yeah.
Anything else you want to say before we wrap up, Sanjay?
Um, just mainly, if anyone wants to learn about infinite banking or anything, more than happy. My contact info up here, my QR code. I'm more than happy to talk about it. And let people know what we've learned. And if you're looking for folks that can help you with the IULs and whole life policies, I know of 3 or 4 different brokers that have done ours, and that was the first step in us sort of changing how we did our finances, is getting that going, and then we added to it. So that's the main. And it's really take your first step, no matter what. It's always, that's the hardest one, but once you take your first step, it just becomes easier.
Yeah, and it's just one step at a time. It's not leaps and bounds. It's
Exactly.
this journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And oftentimes
That's one of my favorite
people
sayings.
yeah, very Tao Te Ching. But I think a lot of my coaching, I'd say 75% of my coaching is that. Let's like there were 2 or 3 people yesterday that I had this conversation with where they get overwhelmed and then they're either not taking action or they're overwhelmed and they're like, and I'll say, hey, look, all you got to let go of performance anxiety, let go of the result. All there is to do today is focus on the one thing you can do right now. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. There's a lot of power in just one simple action each day.
That's the way you put that. That's I'm a Hindu, and that's very that's
Very
goes with that.
Eastern
Yeah,
esoteric.
it's a very that's a very, I would say, Hindu philosophy as well.
Yeah.
Is don't worry about the results. Keep doing what you're doing. Make sure you're doing the right thing. Make sure what you're doing is what you need to be doing, and the results will take care of themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. It's letting go of expectations.
Yeah.
Letting your why be the fuel in the gas tank. Letting your goal be the destination. And then it's a matter of developing habits and routines and processes that enable you to keep moving forward. And you do that one day at a time, one choice at a time, one thought at a time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's just been a delight getting to know you a little bit. And I'd love to interview your wife sometime. That would be fun, or get both of you on here because it sounds like she's your inspiration.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
She has the one limiting belief about her being in front of podcasts and stuff, and I'm hoping to turn that around.
You can pay
Hopefully I
her
can
back.
convince.
You can be
Yes,
influencing her in that.
there
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can
So when
convince her.
yeah, I've had people come on my podcast that were like, had stage fright or were afraid of speaking. And tell them, well, here's the thing. You're not in front of a crowd. You're not seeing anybody. You're just, you and I are just talking to
Mhm,
each other. That's it.
exactly.
I mean, whoever's watching, you're not privy to it at the time. Later you are, but so there've been 3 or 4 people, all women, actually, maybe a couple of men, that said coming on my podcast really helped them, it empowered them. It was a lot easier and more fun than they thought it would be.
And I'll be honest with you, part of doing the podcast and stuff has been me with my own self-development. Like I said, I always saw myself as an introvert. This is me coming out of my shell a little bit as well.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that I'm providing a venue that you can do that, that's empowering you to take your growth to another level, and let your wife know that when she's ready, I'd love for her to be a guest as well.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, thanks so much, Sanjay. I appreciate the time. I appreciate your enthusiasm and the journey you've been on. And, keep listening to your wife. She's steering you well.
Yes, she is. Thank you, Rihanna. It's been a great experience as well.
Yeah,
Thank you
my
for the
pleasure.
opportunity.
So he's got that QR code. Go ahead and scan that with your phone. If you guys want to get involved in any syndications or learn how to do infinite banking by leveraging universal life policies, and just learn more about some of these more advanced strategies that Sanjay and his wife are doing, please make a comment, reach out to him, scan the QR code. That'll get you connected to him directly. Sanjay, after we hang up, if you want to find this post in the group, you can put in the comments section any of your contact information.
I'll do that.
And then he talked about a webinar that he's got coming up, or a workshop. Please feel free to promote that in the group as well.
Yeah, I'll post that as well.
Well, thank you so much. It was a delight, and I look forward to staying in touch and, just supporting you and your wife on your journey.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Like I said, it's been great.
My pleasure. All right. Take care. Have a good rest of your week. Happy hump day, everybody. Remember, don't let limiting beliefs stop you. Feel the fear, do it anyway. Take one step at a time. Don't project too far into the future. Let go of expectations of the result, and it's about habits and processes. Habits and processes create who you are, help you achieve your goals and dreams. It's just, what action do I need to take right now? So take action, no excuses, just results. Bye, everybody. Happy hump day. Thanks, Sanjay.